What he's doing is playing a very large game of poker with countries. And let's face it, he tried it a few weeks ago with Mexico and Canada and got his own way within a few hours. Overall, healthcare, I think, it is so complicated, and particularly when you're in a Trump environment, which requires a lot of government backing, it just makes me nervous.
If I had a hat or a tip for, I would doff it at you for your flagging up the banks last year, which was probably the best investment outside of the Magnificent Seven.
And I think going forward, AI is going to be a very powerful part of what we do. We'll like him or loathe him. And there's a lot of things that I don't like about Trump and what I see. However, he does know what he wants, and he plays a tough game, and he goes out and gets it. And what he's doing in tariffs, it seems to me, is that, and the market's getting frightfully wound up about it. What he's doing is playing a very large game of poker with countries. And let's face it, he tried it a few weeks ago with Mexico and Canada and got his own way within a few hours, well, basically a weekend. But it's a dangerous game he plays, but he knows what he wants. And I don't think we should be unduly worried about it, because he's also not stupid.
Do we subscribe to the view that Elon Musk is now caught between a rock and a hard place, a government officer and a chief executive who supposedly had no peer in the realm? I'm wondering whether Tesla and his space issues and things are going to be able to be as productive in 2025 now that he's got this massive job working for Donald Trump.
It's going to be interesting to watch.
It's a wicked question for me, but you know what I'm driving at.
I know exactly what you're driving. I think it's going to be interesting to watch. Whatever you might think about Elon, he is a maverick, a visionary. People we don't come along that often of what he's achieved. It might all come crashing down for him eventually, but however, and I think Trump has identified somebody that could really be a game changer for the US. Trump has pointed out something, that we see in the West, where we've got to, wake up a little bit.
Sure.
And
we are spending money we don't have and wasting money we don't have.
Exactly. So we'll see. He's got a difficult job on his hands, and to keep all the balls in the air he's got.
If I had a hat or a tip for, I would doff it at you for your flagging up the banks last year, which was probably the best investment outside of the Magnificent Seven you could have had, particularly in the UK, where NatWest rose like the phoenix from the ashes. Venkat's done a very good job getting Barclays back on the bridle. Lloyd's had a little bit of a hiccup over the car situation, but that looks like it's all right. And all in all, the banks and Standard Chartered did extremely well. In Europe, we saw some great bits of valuation increases. Deutsche Bank, which I still want to know how they're going to unwind a lot of their portfolio, but still, it's 27% up this year, I think. And also, if you go back to North America, Wells Fargo had a fantastic year, having had a shocking 2 years prior to that. JP Morgan, we know about, is pretty good. Anything left in the tank? And what haven't I mentioned? I'm much more interested in what you've got to say than what I've flagged up.
This is always difficult, but let's start with the UK banks.
Yep.
There have been some amazing performances. Thank you for mentioning that. It's been gratifying to watch. I think in the fullness of time, there will be a pause for breath, because particularly in the UK banks, they've moved so far so quickly. You just think, well, eventually they've got to pause for breath. So I would caution investors.
But look where they were prior to the banking crisis.
They were so unloved. But we'll see. In Europe, the performance hasn't been quite so good. I still like the US banks, and the US banks, I think, in the Trump world will continue to do well.
I agree.
The JP Morgans, the Goldman Sachs of this world, they're doing slightly different things, but they are very well led and in very powerful positions. One of the banks that we have looked at recently is BBVA, the Spanish bank, which have reported some really very good numbers and performed reasonably well. But I think there's potentially more there. one of the standout areas for me, and having watched the such terrible performance from their economy for years and years and years, is Argentina, and that looks better and better. And BBVA have a small element of their overall businesses in Argentina, so we'll see. And if you're looking to invest in Argentina, which is quite difficult to do, that might be one area that looks attractive, investing in a bank.
How important is AI, do you think, or are there other areas in that technological area that we should really consider?
It's interesting because it's taken me some time to really grasp the strength of what AI could bring us. And I've spent quite a lot of time in the last 12 months just really understanding it, using ChatGPT quite a lot. And I can clearly see what it could add. And
you illustrated that to me last week. I mean, it was extraordinary.
It is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I think going forward, AI is going to be a very powerful part of what we do. And, there are some detractors saying it's going to get people not to think about what we're doing anymore. Well, that is a danger, but you can get it to do very simple tasks and then think at another level, which is very helpful. Some of the stocks within AI clearly are going to do very well over many years. But, I remember investing in the tech boom, and the tech boom went on and on and on for, several years. And the one thing I do remember very clearly about it was not only was the strength of the moves and how long they lasted, but the market just kept flexing. It started with, Netscape and AOL. And by the end of the tech boom, 2 or 3 years later, it was very focusing on a different breed of stocks. So much going on within healthcare. A lot of investor attention has gone into these anti-obesity drugs, the Lilly's and the Novo Nordisk of this world, which have actually slightly underperformed lately. And we find that interesting. And we've been quite careful about our exposure there. And we have noticed a lot of clients asking about it because it's been in the news a lot. Yeah. So that's moved investor attention away from some of the more traditional areas. When I look at healthcare, I just don't think I'm ready to start investing in it yet.
But the FTSE is not really a barometer of the UK economy, is it?
No, it's not. And there's a lot of very good companies that have been taken out of the UK market, which makes it difficult to work out. And there's quite a lot of energy companies, BP, Shell, and mining companies, which have performed quite poorly for lots of reasons we know about. So, and of course, that looks to be changing. Elliot obviously had pointed something out pretty strongly to us in BP. We'll see. I think there are some great opportunities within the UK. Burberry was absolutely friendless for
24% up since the beginning of the year. Unbelievable.
Exactly. Might have run too far. But clearly the market's very much changed its mind about it and is expecting some developments there. Luxury brands across the world, having had a very difficult time, principally because of China, I suspect, are beginning to perform a bit better. And they will perhaps, be looking at the likes of Burberry and thinking, is this an opportunity to buy it? But, 24% move already means that opportunity might have moved away from them quite quickly. So, there are some great opportunities in the UK.